next speaker is Seth. Is that the right name?
Yeah.
Seth?
Uh-huh.
And where are you coming from?
Lehigh, Arizona. Lehigh, Utah.
Ah, okay.
I lived in Arizona for a while.
No problem. So what are you going to talk about?
How you can start using Vue.js in your applications today, even if they're not a Vue application.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so raise your hand if you've ever been working on some old piece of code, or maybe even a new piece of code, and you're just like, I want to burn this to the ground and start over. Awesome, awesome. So today, I'm here to crush your dreams. So I've been part of 3 different rewrites at my company that didn't make it to production. Just all that work thrown to the ground. I actually killed the last one myself. And why this is because doing a complete rewrite is kind of like remodeling your kitchen while you're trying to build a house at the same time. Unless you've got a big team or a second team willing to work on your rewrite, you've got to keep doing enhancements. You've got to keep doing bug fixes at the same time that you're trying to write something new. And so you're trying to write your new thing, implementing the old things while keeping it current with the new things you're implementing on your old stuff. And it just almost never works out. And because of that, it can be hard to convince your managers to do it in the first place, because for the user, they don't see a difference. I mean, maybe they'll see a slight speed increase or something like that. But mostly, usually these rewrites are for you, the developer. It can be difficult to QA. They're probably going to have to do a top-down QA. Even if you write tests, some guy out there has got to go through your website again and make sure it's all still working. And so how do we get that sweet Vue goodness into our applications today? The answer is one stab at a time. This is no longer my talk, it's legacy code. So we do this by anytime you have an enhancement or a bug fix, you change the code relative to the bug fix to a Vue component. Or if you're doing an enhancement, you write it as a Vue component, and then we integrate it into your existing project. So let's see what that looks like. That's the one. Everyone see that okay? Do I need to zoom in more? We good? OK. So we're going to take this code here. We've got this to-do list. It's an unordered list. And we're going to pull it out and plop that into a Vue component. So here we have a wonderful Frankenstein mix of Angular and Vue. So we need to switch that out to Vue stuff. So our ng4s become v4s, our ng classes become colon classes or bind classes. And then all of our events we're emitting. And we're emitting it so that our Angular controller can receive those events and act on them. So on our template here, we're going to add some props. And we're doing props and not data so that eventually we can convert this into a child that's not as horrific as what you're about to see. So we've got our Vue component here. We also have some computed attributes and some methods. The method is actually not going to be called by the component, but by the Angular controller. So we rip out the code. We leave a mounting point with an ID. That ID correlates to the L in the Vue component. And then here in our Angular controller, which was written in the glory days of AngularJS, we instantiate our Vue component. And then I've written a little helper function here to take a component, call its imperative on function, and then pass in a key which correlates to the Angular function in this case, and then it passes params through it. And you can pretty much do this with any framework or language. I'm currently using this in a project at work in jQuery to do something kind of similar. But you see we've got remove to do, we've got edit to do, revert edits, and then you can find the corresponding functions down here on the scope. Anything that you can access with a this inside your component, you can access outside the component. Some people might shudder at that thought, but here we've got our refs, we've got a function that we're invoking, we've got a computed property that we're accessing. So here we're coming back. Since we've done our to-do list, we might as well grab a couple easy ones. I've done a nav footer here, an info footer here. Those are all Vue components. So now the question is, well, does this work? The answer is yes. So here's our Angular.js to-do MVC application with a Vue list. And so we can put data into the Vue list. It shows it. We can manipulate that data by using Angular functions to change the to-dos inside the Vue list. And it all just works. So once we've done that and we feel confident in it, we can ship that code. As long as you're comfortable with some drawbacks. So I pushed the wrong button. Anyway, drawbacks. You're going to have Vue.js inside your same repository as Angular.js. You've got two libraries going. It's going to be complicated, maybe a little more complex for new developers to come on because they're dealing with two frameworks. It sometimes takes a little longer to change your code into Vue code, but you can convince your Scrum leader or whatever that that's okay because you're taking some nasty jQuery or Angular and you're turning it into beautiful Vue, which in the long run will help you. But these are small battles that are easy to win. And some of the stuff we do in the interim state isn't best practice. We're using global variables. We're using multiple mounting points. It's kind of gross. The good news is that we can then take, eventually we can get to the point where we can take, this is most of the code that was in that index.html, put that into a Vue component, list our to-do list and our footers as children, and then we can just rip out our Angular.js, put in a single mounting point, and this is starting to look like a decent application. The goal is to eventually get to the point where we can stop using Vue as sort of a helpful library and use it as a full-on framework where we can then do single file components and rip everything out and develop in a modern environment. So that's my talk. You want to contact me. There's my information. I'm mostly active on Discord. If you haven't been to the Vue Discord channel, it's awesome. And that's it.